Hello. You're probably looking at me like, whoa, Cyro, what are we doing with this? Yeah, I think we're going to try this new style video. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section as we do it. I'll put a little light right there to give myself a little bit better lighting. But hey, hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to be talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves being active in the trade market, according to Brian Windhorst of ESPN. I have my handy dandy phone right here. So I do need to fix. I hate autofocus with a passion, but I'm by myself right now, so I need another person as I'm like 5 feet away from my camera, and I only have a 6'4" wingspan, but like that involves both my arms, so it's probably each arm is only like 3 feet. Either way, let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are rumored to be active in the trade market right now. And people are wondering if Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo are going to be traded. I feel like they rather keep Donte. It's really the Julius Randle fit that's questionable. And I was actually someone who was optimistic that this was actually going to be a good trade that was going to work out for every party involved. We're wrong sometimes. I will still defend that Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns, I know a calf injury happened to Karl-Anthony Towns, but they still took like a year and a half to figure it out. It wasn't a one season thing. The difference is we don't have that time anymore. I also might be looking like I'm like kind of like leaning or whatever it is because I'm like the same height as this green screen. So we're still figuring that one out, guys. The problem being, I think this green screen's like 6'5". I'm 6'2", so it's like a few inches taller than me. So we're put in a quite a predicament right here. This could be alleviated in a lot of different ways, but let's just get right into it. So how would we trade? Who would we trade for? Obviously, everyone's going to be like Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle for Brandon Ingram. I think a lot of the same problems are going to happen, guys, but it could be a short-term deal, which either allows him to go into free agency and gives us the cap flexibility that we could be seeking without giving up too many assets, as Julius Randle arguably could be a good fit for the Pelicans. I'm not sold on it. If I really think we need a point guard, and that's where I get kind of looking at this like, I think our biggest issue isn't Julius Randle, isn't Donte DiVincenzo. It's Mike Conley. He aged like a pear. Like, when a pear goes bad and it's like one day to the next, it just wrinkles. That was Mike Conley one season. It was bad. It wasn't pretty. He, Father Time came quick. And I don't think anybody expected it to happen in one season to the next. As Mike Conley was a guy who's always been efficient, always been good defensively. And it just doesn't look like he has it in him anymore. With that said, let's go ahead and talk about people that they could look for. And we can tell Kyle Anderson leaving was not what should have happened. They're 11-10. They're 10th in the Western Conference, and I think we all agree that if they can reconfigure this roster, it would be huge. Julius Randle, yes, statistically 21 points across 21 games. Shooting his 2-point shot at 57%, his 3-point shooting at 33%, and he has a usage rate of 26.3, which shows he has a high involvement in this offense, but they sometimes stagnate the ball movement. It's real bad when the ball stops. And defensively, he's shown some vulnerabilities. Look, his blocked field goal, like inside 2-point shots rate of 11% is evident that he's struggling to stop interior scorers, specifically elite interior scorers. And I think one of the other thing is his scoring is valuable as they're benefiting from a player who's able to score that isn't named Anthony Edwards, but he's not really complimenting Anthony Edwards, and he isn't facilitating a fluid offense. They'd rather have someone who could facilitate a more fluid offense, which in theory, a guy like Jeremy Grant, I think is the only name that could be available in free agents. I mean, in the trade market that I think would work for them. I just don't think the Portland Trailblazers really want him. And then you got Donte DiVincenzo, who over 21 games himself is averaging just under 9 points, shooting 39.8% from three, which is decent. But his 2-point shooting is 43.6, and he's just having some inefficiency inside, and he just can't finish at the rim. His true shooting is at 49.2%, which is below the league average and significantly below what he was doing last year. Defensively, he's just not blocking anything, and he's just not playing, like, just not getting any touches. I think his ineffectiveness on offense is affecting his mental side and his defensive hustle. And as a result, I really think they need to and part of the problem why he sucks on offense is they don't have a point guard. So they're forcing Donte DiVincenzo to be more on ball, and he's more of an off ball guy, which if they can get a point guard, I think they'll maximize Donte DiVincenzo's value as they could pivot him towards more of an off ball role that's going to emphasize catch and shooting, which will allow him to be more intense defensively, which they need a point guard to be able to do that. So Malcolm Brogdon, he's shooting 58.5% true shooting through 9 games, and he's a guy who's actually averaging like a decent bit of points. So I think he could be a facilitator who will come in, organize the offense, and improve the team's ball movement, address the assist-to-turnover ratio, which is the 7th worst in the league. And his ability to score efficiently and distribute the ball would obviously help Chris Finch implement his offensive system and be valuable. And he's an expiring contract. And the other thing I'd like to say is that Malcolm Brogdon has some durability issues, so that's the one big gripe with this deal. Outside of that, you could maybe try to get Trey Jones, who's a steady floor general for the San Antonio Spurs, who minimizes turnovers and thrives as a playmaker. And his three-point shot is getting better. It's not great. His high basketball IQ and control of the tempo could make him a strong fit. And Minnesota has already dealt with his brother Tyus in the past, so there's that. Obviously, I think in a dream scenario, you would go out and you try to get Matisse Thybulle, Jeremy Grant. They don't have a backup point guard there. So, I mean, unless you're really trying to get Anthony Simons, the greatest deal would be call up Portland and be like, how can we get Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, and Matisse Thybulle for Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo? I think everybody would be happy in Minnesota. Joe Ingles is, in theory, a guy who he hasn't contributed this season, but maybe they should start playing Joe Ingles at point. He's a guy who's always been a good passer. He's always been a good three-point shooter. You can't get much slower and older at the position, so why not? The Bucks aren't going to give up DeLon Wright, but if they were, DeLon Wright would be a cool guy. Vasily Micic doesn't solve the defense, but he could solve the offense. Then the defense becomes the problem, and then you're going to have to address that. Ayo DeSumo is realistically a cheap contract. 58% true shooting on the season so far. He's a young guard who can play 1 through 3. He has the potential to grow. He's a secondary playmaker, and he's great defensively. So I think his versatility, his defense, and his style of play fit perfect for Minnesota. Now, outside of that, man, it does become like, look, as the deadline approaches, we're 2 months away, a little over 2 months. I think finding guys like a Malcolm Brogdon, a trade. I mean, if you could get Malcolm Brogdon and Kyle Kuzma for Donte DiVincenzo and Julius Randle, do it. Do it. Even though Kyle Kuzma kind of sucks this year. I'm just saying, guys, like, there should be something being done. And I think there's moves out there. I think you can get people to take on Julius Randle because he's an expiring contract. I just don't know if they have the draft assets to make anybody, like, be like, oh, it's worth it. Like, that's the big problem. So, that's my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think about this video. I'm going to head out. No, kumbaya. Do that stuff. Love y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. If it doesn't keep buzzing, we're just going to go into this and go,